about this, and we are joined by the Deputy Governor of Nairobi, Honorable Mweke, and also the PS, Engineer Mosonik, PS, in charge of infrastructure in the ministry. And gentlemen, maybe we can talk about one misconception that has been there about the drainage, and we were just talking about that a short while ago, about the fact that the drainages, are they working or are they not working? Maybe we'll start with this.
Yes, sorry. Just to put it into perspective, building a road is not just putting a blacktop or a tarmac. It takes more than that, in the sense that the key component which goes into building or constructing a road is a drainage system. And the drainage system, you must be able to look at within the surrounding to see how the flow of water will be able to drain as it pass through. And coming back maybe to Nairobi, and again, these are roads which were built way back in 1950s, and in as much as we can do quite a lot in terms of roads, drainage systems, and we have done, I would say we have put in quite a lot of effort. But you see the key issue which we are discussing about the social component, which again people come and encroach the road, the river channels, and then as a result again they throw those kind of things. So they block the downstream as well as also they block the upstream. I think this is the key issue. And then again, quite often, of course, we expect that there could be some flash kind of floods which can go, but there should be constant kind of flow of water which can be able to drain over a certain time. So these are the key issues probably which should be addressed as we move forward. And then and then apart from that, let us say the rural kind of roads and so on, is what usually comes to our mind is you must be able to construct a road which meets the required kind of standards. And I think this is something which has been discussed on and on. And in fact, we must be able to enforce those kind of standards to make sure that we build a road with correct kind of drainage systems, with correct sub-base and sub-grade to be able to support the traffic, as well as to put safety into account when you are constructing those roads.
Like take a road, for example, fairly new, but still last time we saw it flooding, but then like we were talking about, it still goes away. So what could be the problem in that area?
The problem, if you see again, we put in the correct kind of drainage systems, but if you see upstream, there are some development which are coming up. So over time, the rain actually water brings in the debris and block those kind of drainage systems, and that is what has caused most of the flooding systems. And so again, this is something which you must be able to tell the public, that while you are doing constructions, make sure that you don't make sure you control the debris actually which go within the drainage systems which have been provided, because it goes blocking the roads, it goes blocking almost any kind of access within a available kind of environment.
All right, and for the first 5 days, your county, sir, has been in focus because of all these problems. And you say the drainages are clear, but the problem is some of them, quote unquote, are colonial.
We have two issues. First of all, our drainage system was done in the 50s, so it's pre-colonial. So successive management of the county from then, the city council from then until now, has not done anything to improve that, so you have a population that has increased significantly, and you have drainage infrastructure for a population for the 1950s, 60s or 70s. So we need a very serious infrastructure upgrade on the drainage system. That's the first question, the first problem. The second problem is garbage, you know there's a lot of littering that happens in Nairobi. People throwing their rubbish out of their cars, out of the matatus. You are walking, you're eating a banana, you throw it out. When it rains, all this finds itself in the drainages. So it can block the drainages, then you have a big problem with flooding when the drainage happens. Now, the first problem is relatively easy to fix. It costs a lot of money, but we've been able to manage it. We've been able to open up the drainage. We employed almost 600 young people from around the city who went in after the last flood that we had this time last year. We went in and we cleaned all the drainages. We found a lot of construction material debris, like the PS is saying. If you realize Kileleshwa by the Shell doesn't flood anymore. South Sea has improved greatly. It almost doesn't flood anymore. And a lot of the hotspots, we identified about 7 of them. Nyayo High Rise as well, because we cleaned up those drainages, It's extremely expensive for us. We tell them 190, if you don't throw your garbage out, then it will be cheaper for us to be able to maintain. So that we've been able to do. The long-term solution is really to upgrade all our drainage systems. It costs a lot of money, So again, when you hear the county saying that we need more money to come down for devolution. It's to do some of these things that really require very high capital intensive funding to be able to do that. That we've already put the structures in place. If you recall, the county led by the governor last year launched very publicly the first integrated master plan that Nairobi City has ever had. Yeah, and that integrates all your stormwater, your sewer, your power, your environment, which is garbage, your ICT, and all of that together to ensure that all our infrastructure is talking to each other and is able to integrate with each other. That way you'll be able to manage the city better. And some of these floods that you're seeing is not going to be there. It's going to be extremely expensive to do. We've already started the process, and we keep asking for funds to come down to the counties so that we're able to do some of those things. Last but not least, again, is with the developers. It's both a problem with developers and a problem with us government enforcing. We need to have capacity to enforce. A lot of the buildings that are being built, they are connecting the sewerage system, the plumbing system and the entire sewage system into the storm drains instead of connecting them into the sewers. Yeah, so which means now that your drainage that was done a long time ago, that's only supposed to take care of a certain population, is now taking care of a population that 10 times that, and it's also taking care of other things like sewer, which should be going to the sewers and not storm water alone. So you find your drainage is capacity is almost at 300–400%, and when that happens, flooding comes. What you're seeing now is when the drainages are cleaned, the flash floods come, too much for the drainage to handle, your roads flood, but within half an hour when the rain stops, it drains, which means the drainage is actually working. You just need to expand the capacity. Yeah.
And also just a question as well, like you said that the building was marked with an X, and you said about enforcing. Does the county also as enforce that, and what maybe just by way is it about going? We see people rushing. This is the perspective basically that Kenyans have. They don't know the nitty-gritties. They see, okay, the building goes down, then we have the county rushing, we have the government rushing to the scene. But what is being done? Is there real enforcement?
I think that's the real story here, right. And I hope that we'll really focus on that, because what's important is not this Huruma disaster. Yeah, it's a disaster. It's happened. We have to do as much as we can to save any lives that are in there. But what should be important to every Kenyan right now is what are we going to do to ensure that no other building comes down anywhere in this country. And to do that, you have to take out politics. Yeah, we have to be very firm as government, right? We have to remove people from the road reserves. We have to clear the illegal structures. We have to do this audit that we are talking about. If we find that a building you're living in is unsafe, right, we should be able to arrest the person who built that building because they broke the law. Yeah, and we should be able to bring down that building. But what happens is when we do that, custodians of government on behalf of the citizens, we get vilified by other politicians, right? We brought down a building in the CBD about 3 months ago, and a prominent city politician came fighting our officers, saying that we brought down buildings of their people. The building was unsafe. It was going to collapse and kill people, right? Right now, we managed to condemn 2 buildings in Mathare North, yeah, that are leaning and they're about to come down. We did that in December, right? We managed to evacuate. That was good. But guess what? We've not been able to bring down those buildings because the politicians around the area and even the people themselves, they incite themselves around saying that serikali inakuja kuvunja mali yetu, right? So even when we went to public works, actually, I don't know if the PS knows this, to ask for heavy equipment, they said Mathare is a dangerous area, our equipment will be damaged, right? We try to hire from private people who have these bulldozers, and they say, well, Mathare, we're not taking our equipment there, it will be stoned, it will be vandalized, people will say we are coming to destroy people's property, right? So now we are working with the NYS. NYS has already gone to look at those buildings, and soon we'll be able to get heavy equipment to bring down those 6-story buildings. So those are some of the challenges. It's not that we are sitting down doing nothing. The public also needs to know that there are real challenges. There's another building I'm seeing people talking about on social media, which is opposite Timor, and I saw Boniface Mwangi tweeting about it this morning. Yeah, yes, it was built on a riparian. what we have done is we have gotten a list of all the pieces of land and buildings that are on riparian waylifts, including the one that just fell down. It was next to a river. It should never have been built there.
But,
right?
But surely though then, if, and I'll allow you to finish in a short while,
yes.
But then the picture that is being painted is that then it looks like then the government is a little bit weak, because if the the Madara people can hold them hostage and say don't come, we will vandalize your equipment, and then we can't do anything. So is the government weak? Can't it do that? Because at the end of the day we'll have people losing their lives, and this is a question for both.
I think you bring up a good question. It's a multi-agency or intergovernmental affair, right? For example, the county government doesn't deal with security, so security is not devolved, right? So we need to be able to talk to the security agencies and say, listen, we need to do this operation, and indeed they usually help us. We need to do this operation, we need you to give us security officers, then we get equipment from wherever we need to go and get it, and we get our people and we go and do the job. All I'm trying to say is not that we are not doing the job, it's not as easy as people think it is to do the job, and I'm just telling you some of the challenges that we come up with. And I was telling you the other challenge we're coming up with is there's a building that is on a riparian, the roundabout of Timor.
Of Timor, yes.
Right?
So and the construction is still ongoing.
In the press, yes. Right? We gave notice, and guess what? They went to court and they got a court order. Right now, government, seriously, you cannot disobey a court order, right? So those are some of just the challenges. The case indeed is still going on in court, but when the court gives an injunction, building continues, and you have to wait for the judicial system to take its course.
What about you as well?
No. Sorry, I think the key issue, as you are saying, there are no two ways about it. If people is on road reserve, if somebody has built closer to the river, they must be demolished. Correct. And just as David Governor has put again, and the ministry, we are now working on a bill which will be able to deal with some of these structures which are being put along the road reserve, and that one should be able to fast track so that we really deal with this, because we later this thing will be able to be a problem in future. And an example is we are working in Mombasa Nairobi Highway. You must have had something in Makueni and the others, and so in terms of we keep people short, I mean, notice up to 6 months, and then the last minute they don't want to move, and yet they know they are in road reserve. So we are going to go after those people. I mean, that one, there are no two ways about it as soon as we enact this kind of bill. So the same thing again to deal with this. You remember when those floods within the Timor, the last area where people were there almost for 6 hours and so on, it was because of those buildings which are very close to within the river channel, which is constrained, and somebody constructing over a river, I mean, that is really absolutely not acceptable. So again, these are issues which you should be able to address and make sure we deal firmly with those kind of issues.
So isn't this then a case of outright corruption? Because then the question is, and it's all over, who then approves the buildings? Because the building will start, foundation, nothing is done. Floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, floor 4, floor 5, this was I think 6 or 7. People come and occupy the buildings, and yet nothing is done. Isn't it then, some would call it impunity and corruption, or is money exchanging hands somewhere then?
It goes back to the enforcement issue that you're talking about. To enforce, you need capacity, right? Honestly speaking, it's a funding problem. I'll give you a very good example of where we are as Nairobi, right? Nairobi city used to get 1.2 billion shillings a month, right? From the national government, before devolution. Right, so they had about 7,000 employees. The city used to be run under Cap 265, which is Local Governments Act, under the Ministry of Local Government. Used to get money from the national government for the LASDEP and LATI for 1.2 billion shillings a month. Right, now devolution came, functions increased, so we had health, agriculture, and all of that devolved down to the counties. So we increased another 6,000 employees from the national government, right? And the money that we get from the national government decreased to a billion shillings, less than a billion shillings a month. Right? So here you are, that you have got more responsibilities, you have got more staff, and you're getting less money. Something's going to give. right? It's like you, somebody telling you, listen, you're single right now, but what we're going to do, we're going to give you a wife and 2 children, then we'll cut your salary into half. Can't work. Yeah, and that's the problem we're running into. So yes, these buildings are coming up. That's why I said earlier, some of these buildings come up faster than even we can catch up with them. And why can't we catch up with them? We don't have the capacity to be able to catch up with them. We need to hire more inspectors. We need to get more equipment, vehicles and other facilitation. That costs money. Yeah, where do we get the money from? That's the first problem. There's also inefficiencies and corruption that you have spoken about, and we recognize that. So what we've done as a county is we are putting together a bill, like also the PS are doing at that level, on how we are going to outsource inspections. And this happens, actually it's a practice in the Western world that we are picking, where we are saying, listen, our county government will do the policy, will do the framework and everything, but can we outsource this to the private sector? So the architects associations, the quantity surveyors, the structural engineers, we outsource those to the private sector, and their job will be to be doing the inspections of all the buildings that are coming up in Nairobi, and then they report back to us. Right now we don't have a legal framework to do that, but it's in the process of being able to do that. So you as a developer, as you're paying your construction fees to be able to get a permit to construct, as part of that you have a small fee for inspection and compliance, and that we outsource to engineers in the private sector. And we believe they'll be more efficient in ensuring that buildings don't get to the 7th floor when they're in bad shape.
Right. And also talk about the unlawful occupancy bill. The unlawful occupancy bill 2015, that is, like you're talking about, the bill is set to deter some people from encroaching on among the things, the road reserve. Yeah,
road reserve. That's what I'm saying is, you see, we have certain kind of measurements, 9 meters or 6 meters, depending where the locality is. Now, but there are people, in fact, there are 2 aspects whereby, in terms of vandalism, somebody knocks, let's say, what do you call the road furniture, and it just disappears, and I come and replace that kind of furniture. The same thing again, somebody comes encroaching the road, pillar structure, and you put it across. Quite often the question is, why did you lay this structure across? Maybe I don't know whether he does it at night, but again, the issue is, if there is no law which sort of anger on that kind of aspect, and it takes quite often to enforce. So, but the key issue which we are saying is, going forward, is we must be able to fast track, when we are going to fast track some of this bill, so that it catches, it catches up with most of these kind of wrongdoings from these people who are actually coming to the road. Now, the other aspect which I spoke again the other day is about maybe the OCAS, and something has to be done. What you call the kiosk, which has built closer to the road, the OCAS are almost blocking the traffic. You know, this is the kind of social problem which we are really discussing, and all this has impact in terms of what you are seeing right now, in terms of the floods, in terms of not proper use of our roads, which they are meant to be used. So I think these are the issues which we should be able to deal with, and really come up with a clear solution on that.
All right, even as we wrap up and do our final comments as well, and just a question has come through as somebody asking, who then is responsible to, like, once you market X, who is the one who's supposed to go and bring it down?
It's the county government that's supposed to bring it down, but you can't bring it down unless you have scientific information that that building is structurally not sound, right? Otherwise, if you do that, somebody can take you to court and say, you destroyed my building, it was okay, and unless you can prove to the court, then you'll be liable for that. So the first phase was, we said, you know what, we've seen a crack on this building, right? So we put an X and we flag it. The second part is now to come in now with a specialist to find out, why is that crack there? Is it just paint that's cracking? Is there a problem with the structure? Was the right cement, sand, ballast mix used when they were building? Was the right steel used when they were building? That's another process. You have to hire a specialist. It costs money. The team that was supposed to do that had a 300 million shilling budget for all of Nairobi. It was slashed to 130 million. So they finished the 130 million piece of work and they stopped. So we are saying, if we can get the other 170 million, then we can continue the process to the end. We make sure that really that building is supposed to be brought down, and then we bring it down.
Right. Yeah, maybe the last comment. again, I think the question, there is no time probably where we'll have enough kind of funds in terms of, I think the key issue is effectiveness and efficiency in which you can be able to, how much can we be able to do with the available kind of resources. I think that is going forward really, because there is no time where you'll have all these monies. Maybe the last thing again, coming back to the floods, and again something which have been forecasted, let's say for the next 3, 4, 5 days. As a ministry, we have put up a team which can be able to ensure that we deal with these issues as they arise. We have a team in Western, all the regional offices. We have a team in Nairobi. I dropped all the Nairobi this morning, part of Nairobi, which they had some problems yesterday. We already have a team trying to clear the drainage and so on. Some, of course, debris are brought on the road, so we should. So what we are telling the motorists to drive very, very carefully, especially where the visibility is very poor, so that they can be able not to cause any havoc in terms of blocking the roads and also cause the accidents. I remember I saw a vehicle which was trying to cross a river last night, and a flooded river, and that vehicle was swept. I mean, these are issues which are being caused by carelessness and within our motorists and so on. So you watch, there are some hotspots like Narok route. We have some along Budalang River and so on, Nyando River, which are mainly, and then we have partly in Meru, which are landslide again blocking the roads. We have some towards the lower part of Garissa going down to Hola. So these are hotspots which you have been looking at in terms of, but we have put have a team which should be able to deal with most of these problems as they occur. Thank you.
Also, a final question to you, and as well to the Deputy Governor as well. Are there any houses that have been on road reserve, or any structures that so far have been brought down?
Yes, I would say yes. 3 weeks ago I was in Machakos, Makueni Road, and I think we brought down most of the... And to be very honest, I think you must have, when you're constructing, let's say, the Thika Super Highway, all those construction, we bring down outer ring and all those other areas. So any road which is in road reserve, we are not going to compensate on those ones because they build it. It's illegal. Maybe we can look at in terms of business and so on, but any road which in the thing road reserve, we must be able to demolish. And so we have brought down many of these structures which are within our road reserve.
Yeah, for me, I've already told you the houses. We don't deal with the major roads. That's Kenha and Kura, which is under Engineer Musonik in the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure. But yes, we've brought down, I just gave you an example of even one we brought down in right in the CBD just a few months ago that caused us a lot of political heat. Somebody trying to protect their constituent doing something illegal, which we are discouraging. But most importantly, I mean, back to the Huruma tragedy. Right. Yeah, I was there this morning. I was there most of the morning from early morning. The governor is not in town. Maybe some people are wondering. We've not heard from Dr. Kidero. Yes. I'm filling in his shoes like any deputy does. He had gone for a funeral for one of our party supporters who passed away, and is not back yet. So I've been holding the fort. But the access to where the building collapsed, which goes all the way down to the river, there are some buildings that are adjacent to that, and because of the heavy collapse of that building, it was a heavy building, 6, 7 floors, yeah, it must have shaken and maybe made the integrity of the foundations of the surrounding buildings not very safe. So we're asking the citizens who live in those buildings, there's a pink building that's just next and one opposite, and maybe 2 or 3 buildings up, that they need to move. Yeah, find a friend or a relative or somewhere. Don't risk your life. Yeah, I'll be just asking those residents of Huruma and Gay Ward just to move to somewhere safe. We're going to have our structural engineers come on site and make sure the integrity of the building you are in is okay, so that you don't have another heavy downpour. It's going to rain today, it's going to rain tomorrow, it's going to rain on Monday, and it could cause another tragedy. And we don't want to lose any more lives. So we are asking those citizens, please do yourselves a favor, do your families a favor, do us as government a favor, move. Until we can assure you that that building where you are is safe for you to stay. Number 2, I've received calls from a lot of well-wishers and friends who just want to be able to help. Of course, they can't help with the rescue mission because they're not specialized, but there might be people who want to give foodstuffs, blankets, maybe offer a place to stay for some of the people who are now homeless because of that building. We are telling them they can contact the county through either Facebook or Twitter, at County Nairobi, or even myself directly at J. Mweke, and we'll be able to let them know where they can bring that assistance. The county government, actually, I'm running back to the office. Right. We've called all our teams together so that we can also begin to offer post-disaster support to some of those victims. And in addition to what the county government will be donating, any well-wishers can come and we can put all our donations together, and we'll be able to assist the people who've been affected by this tragedy.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much. Of course, gentlemen, we've been talking, and it's a conversation basically like clearly, have you seen that we'll need to continue to have, because like you said, there's the bill that's going to be coming up as well, and there are more issues about funding, so it's definitely a conversation that we need to have more so that we avoid some of these tragedies. But for your time, we thank you so much for availing yourselves to us. And so we've been talking to PS Engineer Mosonik, who is the PS in charge of infrastructure, and also the Deputy Governor of Nairobi County, Excellency Mweke. So we thank you so much for making time for